Sometimes you're the wolves, and sometimes you're the sheep. This is Locked On Nuggets. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network. Thanks for joining us and making us your first listen each and every day, making us a part of your day. Really appreciate it. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network and the Nuggets insider for 104.3 The Fan in Denver. On today's show, we'll talk about the Wolves' beatdown of the Nuggets in Denver and how the Nuggets will respond, how it came about, my thoughts on all sorts of things. Adam Mara is not with us tonight. He's feeling under the weather. Make sure to tweet Adam and tell him to get better. I'm sure he'll love that. I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by TrueBill. TrueBill is a new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for all the subscriptions you don't want or need. And they can even negotiate better deals on those you want to keep. Check it out at TrueBill.com. All right. So the Nuggets absolutely got waxed tonight. They got absolutely blown apart. This game was not as close as the final score indicated at 124-107. This game was mostly over by half. The Nuggets could not make any sort of headway in the second half. And for once, it was the starters that was the problem. Aaron Gordon was a minus 28. He scored 8 points on 6 shots. Monte Morris was a minus 20, despite having 15 on 6 of 10. Nikola Jokic, the Nuggets got outscored with Nikola Jokic on the floor by 17 points in his 35 minutes, despite Jokic having 27 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, 1 steal, 4 turnovers to 11 assists is totally fine. He was 11 of 16 from the field and 2 of 4 from 3. Jokic put up a lot of points in this game, and it did not matter at all. Will Barton was a minus 18 on 3 of 8 shooting, 8 points, 4 rebounds, just 3 assists for Will. The Nuggets as a team, had 33 assists on 38 buckets. That's a good number, but not nearly good enough to counteract what the Wolves did, which is the Wolves shot 23 of 48 from three-point range. The NBA record, I believe, is 28. Either 20 or 25. I think maybe 25 in the regular season. They shot 47.9% from 3 and 50% from the field overall. They were red hot from everywhere, not just from 3, though we will talk about that as well. They outscored the Nuggets. They got 9 more threes than the Nuggets in this game. That wasn't everything. It was a lot of it. So here is the general consensus that I got from Nuggets Nation after the game, which is just like, the Wolves shot absurdly hot. They were so incredible. That's just outlier shooting. What are you going to do, et cetera, et cetera. So I am king of the variance and how cool variance can be. Because there are times when you can legitimately guard great in this league and teams just hit shots because they have so many great shooters. And with where the league is at offensively most years. Not this one, mind you, but most years. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, and I get to do this because Adam's not here, so we're going to start with defense. This was not an outlier shooting performance. These were great looks. The Nuggets put the Wolves in rhythm. The Nuggets got the Wolves in rhythm. The Nuggets kept the Wolves in rhythm. The Nuggets helped the Wolves find their rhythm and keep them there throughout the game. It starts with very simple stuff. Like on the first possession of the game, Will Barton helps down off of a shooter, 1 pass away into the post on Karl-Anthony Towns against Nikola Jokic. Now, I went back and watched this entire game, and I'm here to tell you that Cat absolutely kicked Jokic's ass offensively. Jokic got his points, got his numbers for sure. We'll talk a little bit about how that dynamic worked out on the other end in the second segment. I want to talk about Jokic specifically on defense in the second segment. However, you still cannot help 1 pass away. Like, this is just not a league where you can do that anymore. They did that several times. Nuggets were sending, like, naked doubles in the post at guys. And the Wolves were just making easy 1 passes away. Wasn't just that, though. After the game, Anthony Edwards had 10 threes in this game. He was absolutely phenomenal. And it's great. He's having a terrific breakout season. After the game, Malone talked about how we didn't make him feel us at all. We didn't get into him at all, is what he said. And he's absolutely right. And it wasn't just Ant. It was D'Angelo Russell. It was Patrick Beverley. It was Jaden McDaniel, who look, Jaden McDaniel is a 25% shooter on the season. He was 3 of 6 tonight. So if you ask me, like, well, didn't some guys shoot a little bit better? Yeah, like some guys shot better from 3. Specifically, Anthony Edwards went 10 of 14. Yeah, that's an outlier performance for sure. Cat was 3 of 7, 42% on threes. That's good. EFG. Patrick Beverley 3 of 7. D'Angelo Russell 3 of 8. Jaden McDaniel 3 of 6. You cut down, I don't know, you regulate some of that, and is this a closer game? Sure. But the Wolves felt like they could get what they wanted in this game. Nobody put a body into them. Will Barton was especially bad. I'm going to call out Will. That Will was especially bad defensively in this game. He's looked off for a while, and we've seen this before. It's frustrating because Will plays really well and then has to carry more of a burden because guys get hurt, and then Will gets worn down. And we talked about it. We talked about how the minutes were going to have a drag on him down the line, and you're seeing it, I think. Like, he just doesn't look right. He was slow on rotations. There was one where I believe it was Ant. He lost Ant. Ant got the rebound. Barton was confused by why nobody picked up and boxed out Ant when it was his guy, and then they got kicked out transition, but offensive rebound 3 off of it. Like, it was bad. Aaron Gordon, we've talked about how Aaron Gordon usually bounces back from bad performances, so Aaron Gordon should bounce back in the next game because he was not good tonight. I will say this, there was a lot of, when Aaron Gordon was on Ant tonight, there was a lot of what I saw, which was, doesn't have the scouting report on him, hasn't played him a lot, doesn't necessarily know to respect that 3-pointer. And so not what's written on the scouting report that's given to the players, but the internal scouting report that Aaron Gordon has of players in the NBA seemed to be that you don't need to worry about Ant as a shooter. And so he kind of played off him. Like, he was daring him a little bit to hit shots. Like, he was contesting, and he started contesting more, but by that time, Ant was already too hot, and he just kept pouring it down, right? But if you don't get up into these guys, they're going to knock down threes. This Wolves team has a lot of talent. This is a better Wolves team. We saw how motivated they were in the preseason. We saw how amped up they were in the first meeting where the Nuggets beat them very close. Like, this team wants to get back at Denver. They know how much Denver has dominated them. Like, Denver is the team they're looking up at. Like, that's the team that they're like, we want to get there. And they played like it. They play with energy and effort and physicality, and the Nuggets didn't. The Nuggets got good performances from the bench outside of Facu Gaza, who, oh yes, I'll talk about him in the third segment. They got good minutes from Zeke Naji. I thought Zeke was really good. Even when Zeke was making mistakes tonight, Zeke, I thought, brought something to the table. And that shows because Zeke wound up with a +5 in a game where they got wiped out. And some of that was garbage time. But still, like, he had 13 points on 5 of 8. Like, he was, like, the effort was there. Marcus Howard, who suffered a knee injury, we'll talk about that in the final segment as well. Hopefully he's okay. Some good news from Malone after the game, suggesting it might have been a hyperextension. Fingers crossed there for Marcus Howard. He gave them a boost. He was 4 of 13, but at least he was gunning and, like, playing with intensity. The bench actually played with, like, intensity. They tried. They cared. Even when they were losing the minutes in the first half, like, there was effort there. But the starters just simply did not have it tonight, and the Nuggets do not get to not have it. They just simply do not have enough talent. They just don't. They do not have enough talent remaining for them to not have it on any given night. If they play like that, they are going to get beat. And they got beat. They got beat soundly by a Wolves team that tonight was better than them. Let's take a break. We'll come back, and I want to talk about Jokic and the defense and exactly what I saw on that end, and how that kind of relates to the overall kind of picture. We'll do that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, I do want to tell you about PrizePicks. So you've been hearing me tell you about PrizePicks for months. You signed up? Because PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. If you've not yet checked it out, you're missing out. I'm telling you, you're going to love this app for NBA and mixed sport pick'ems. The Christmas Day games are going to be off the charts and even more fun if you play PrizePicks. They got the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. They offer more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator, and they offer all the players, not just the superstars, but the bench guys as well. They offer any prop you can think of, from points, assists, rebounds, threes, everything. And If you deposit using promo code NBA, that's promo code NBA, you'll receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. You just pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times per entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Go to PrizePicks.com today and use promo code NBA, or go to your App Store and download the app. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for making this part of your day. I really appreciate you guys being with us. Matt Moore taking you through the loss to the Wolves. Adam Mares is a DNP out. Almost. All right, let's talk about Jokic. So, look, Joker had in the first half. Let's look at the first half here, okay? Joker was 7 of 10 from the field, 17 points, 7 boards, 8 assists. He had nearly a 20-point triple-double in just 20 minutes, okay? And he was only a -6. In the minutes in which the Nuggets were not on the court with him in that first half, it was an abject disaster. Like, they were -8 in those minutes without him. So it was really bad, right? Can't really blame Jokic. It was only a -6. You got to win your minutes with Jokic, and you got to win them by a wide margin. You have a top-heavy roster that's missing a bunch of top-heavy guys. This is heavy is the burden. You know, heavy's the crown, no doubt. The key I think I wanted to talk about with this, though, 2 things. One, Cat went right at Jokic. Like some fans were like, no, I mean, that wasn't what. Look, I get that you're going to focus on Anthony Edwards' 10 threes, and trust me, like that's reason number 1 what the Wolves won was a 3-point shooting and specifically Ant. I get it. But if Karl Anthony Towns doesn't go for 32 points in this game, it is not the same kind of deal. Cat was a +18. They won their minutes with Cat by 18 points, and he had 32. Cat did something in this game. He was good. He was great. And he went right at Jokic. And if you want to say, well, how much of that was really Joker? I actually, looked it up. 14 of his 32 was versus Jokic. That's a pretty big percentage. He shot 7 of 8 from the field versus Jokic. He cooked him. Now, I don't necessarily think that Joker's defense was bad on Cat. Cat made tough shots. Cat takes that matchup personally because Joker has clowned him since the 2018 game, right? We've seen how much Cat cares about that game. And he did. He cared about it. The key in this one was he didn't try too hard. In the first one, and especially in the preseason game, he tried too hard, go at Joker, go at Joker. He let the game come to him tonight, and it worked out a lot better. Here's the other thing. So I've been noticing for a while that the Nuggets are running drop coverage more. They used to pep at this all the time, right? They play at the level. They try and pressure the ball handler, get the ball out, et cetera, et cetera. They're not doing that as much this season. And I think that's really interesting, that they are playing differently with Jokic specifically this season. They ran way more drop coverage tonight versus the Wolves. It was just really apparent that was a thing that they were doing was against this team for whatever reason. Their game plan was, whether it was game plan or it was just the decision was made in the moment, they decided to play back a lot more. Look, in this game, Jokic played at the level 9 times on 9 picks, and he dropped only 5 times, but the 5 times that he's recorded as having done it, and some of these are this is according to the data, but I'm telling you that if you watch them, it doesn't feel like he's playing at the level. Some of these were side pick and rolls where he's not retreating, but he's not up either. He's in no man's land. This is where Jokic was those years that he was really bad defensively. That's where Joker was. And on those plays where Joker dropped tonight, the Wolves scored 2.6 points per possession. If you don't know what that means that they were basically hotter than the sun. They got whatever they wanted in those situations. Okay? When he was in playing at the level, aggressively, even on those ones where I was telling you that he's kind of in the middle space, they only gave up a point per possession, which is totally fine. That's doable. That's 45th percentile league-wide for offenses. So that's totally okay. But 2.6, that's 87. That's just absolutely absurd. this is a very small amount of data. What I am trying to tell you is that when I went back and watched, Joker was retreating on. There was a play where D'Angelo Russell came off of a pick in the second quarter and got a wide open pull up three. That's an issue, right? This is the exact type of thing that the Nuggets are trying to scheme away from. And they're doing it more this season. And it was effective early on, I think in part because they had bigger bodies. I think when they had MPJ and they had Dozier in particular, I think they were able to do a little bit more in terms of attacking. The Wolves really got downhill and were able to create wide open threes in part because of that drop scheme. This is the reason why I rail against drop scheme teams, especially in playoff environments. That's what you give up. Because if your big is retreating and the roll man's going, it's Karl Anthony Towns, right? Can you let Towns roll? You can't, because I'll tell you, you let him roll a couple times and Towns scored. So you bring the tag over. Well, now the corners are open. Now you can scheme this, like you can do it effectively. Like you can run drop and be really good. Even in the playoffs, you can run drop if you run it perfectly every single time against certain teams. It can work. And the Wolves might be such a team, right? I kind of question that with Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell. I would say like, no, I would rather get the ball out of their hands. I would rather blitz them and make the rest of their team try and make a 4-on-3 play. And I would especially try, like, I would dare Jaden McDaniels to beat you. He went 3 of 6 tonight. Make him keep shooting. Make somebody else try and beat you versus letting guys easily step into threes. Now, again, I want to stress this. Like, this was not a hard – if this was a hard-fought contest, then Jokic's defense would have been, like, category 1 that I talked about. It wasn't. Like, Barton and Gordon were worse. The Nuggets as a whole, as a group, were worse defensively. But Jokic's defense tonight wasn't – I would not say it was good. And it very much looks like he is getting more and more tired. This is what we saw in the playoffs versus the Suns. When Chris Paul was eradicating Denver, a lot of it was that the Nuggets were suddenly and almost inexplicably running drop a lot more. The only real reason, the only thing that I know to put this on is that he was tired. It's easier to drop. It's not nearly as stressful. It's not nearly as hard on the body. And so you retreat, you try and contain things, and you rest a little bit. I don't know what they're gonna do, because if Jokic is tired, which I think he is, you have to try and save him. But if you're trying to save him, you're gonna have nights like this, because I'm not sure the Nuggets have the offensive firepower to counter it. Like, bear in mind, like the defense has been sliding for some time after such a great start, and here's the bigger part. The Nuggets in previous years honestly could probably sustain this. They'd be like, oh, all right, we're gonna score a lot of points. They're gonna score a lot of points. We'll score more. Denver hit 14 threes tonight, which is a pretty good amount. Right? Shot 36% from three, not great, but okay. But they were outscored by 9. Okay, the Wolves shot an outlier performance. Let's drop them down to 17. Let's take a full 6 threes off of their margin. Right? They only make 3 more. That's still a 9-point edge. Right? That's still 9 extra points that they're generating out of the threes. This is, like, at its core, this is a problem. Denver can't get caught in these situations where they're trying to, like, trade, because this is what you did see in the second quarter a lot. The Nuggets were trying to trade 2s for 3s. That's bad. That's whenever you're in that spot, it's troublesome. Look, Barton was 0-4. Gordon was 1 of 3 from 3, and Campazzo, we'll talk about in a second. They didn't have it, and that's fine. They're shorthanded. I get it. But I will say this, that if you do not bring a level of physicality on defense, if you're not up into shooters, and if you're playing drop, this is all of this is a collective recipe for the teams that have their shit together to drop 124 on you and blow you out of your own building. Take a break. We'll come back, and I want to talk about the bench. I have some thoughts on that. We'll come back on Locked On Nuggets, but first, I want to talk about TrueBill. You know why free trials renew without your consent? Business. They want to get your money because you forget, and then they just keep charging you, and you're like, okay, I'll remember next year. And, okay, I'll remember next year. But sometimes I'll tell you, sometimes trying to get these things canceled. I had a newspaper subscription. I would call. They didn't have an online cancellation system. You have to call. So I would call, and then I would get rerouted, and then put on hold. And I literally was on hold for 2 hours. Nobody picked up. Right? TrueBill takes care of all of this for you. It's the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't want, need, or you simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill. Companies make subscriptions hard to cancel. TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts, and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. Your TrueBill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. They've got over 2 million users and helped them save over $100 million. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now, truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. truebill.com/lockedonnba. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for making us part of your day and your first listen each and every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free. It's available on all platforms. All right, let's wrap this up. Lost to the Wolves, to the Nuggets on Wednesday night. I actually did not make it to Ball Arena because the winds in Colorado were so ridiculous. My wife was like, I'm really worried about you on I-25. Like, I'm genuinely really concerned about you on I-25 with these 50-mile-an-hour gusts. So I hope everyone's safe. I tweeted about it. A bunch of folks were sharing stories of the damage they'd seen or stuff that had happened. So hope everyone's safe after those incredibly dangerous storms that I'm sure is totally normal. Okay. Final segment. I want to get to this. The bench unit. All right, so Marcus Howard suffers a non-contact knee injury. Looked really bad. Helped off the floor. Nobody there with him. Okay? Not great. Malone said after the game they were hopeful it was a hyperextension. So it's either a hyperextension or he also tore something, and like PJ Dozier and Michael Porter Jr. is out for the year. So, look, best wishes, thoughts, prayers, whatever you want to send to Marcus Howard, a good guy that's been honestly thrust into a role that is a lot for him, and was playing really well. Like, was giving them the spark that they needed. They got it to 6 in the second quarter, in part thanks to Marcus's threes. Like, his shooting really gave them a lot. And if he's out, even with Austin Rivers coming back, it's just another thing adding to it. On the injury front, I did want to note that I have kind of said that I did not know whether or not I didn't know whether or not MPJ was definitely out, right? I will tell you that my expectation now is that he does not return this year. It's less a matter of whether or not MPJ could return this year, but more that I think there is a consensus amongst everyone involved that it just simply isn't smart for his long-term career, which is what everybody, the Nuggets, Porter, his agent, his family, everyone's concerned about is Porter's long-term health. And so from that perspective, it does not make sense for him to return this year. So, let's talk about the bench a little bit more. I don't know what nothing I can do here. Paco Campazzo was the only member of the bench with a negative on the night. What do you want me to do? He was 2 of 8, 2 of 7 from 3. He hit 2 threes, but he took 7 of them, trying to get them back into it. Did have 8 assists. There was a transition play where he tried to take a charge at half court when the guy saw him coming by 10 feet and easily passed it for a runaway bucket. It's rough. I don't necessarily expect the Nuggets to make a move to shake up this roster, in part because I don't think that they have the contract to do so. They don't have anybody that they can move who makes enough to bring back the kind of guy that would allow them to, because they're so close to additional tax penalties this year, right? They're setting themselves up for tax penalties down the line. They're trying to stay out of the repeater as much as possible. It's just not really feasible. But boy, I'll tell you, Campazzo 30 minutes and a -4, right? So that seems better than some of these other minutes, right? Some of these other minutes were so much worse. And I get that, but when I just continue to watch Campazzo and there's no threat for him. There's no real concern for him. That brings me to Bones Hyland. Harrison Wynn from DNVR reported that Bones would not be on the court tonight, that he was not going to play. He's going to be a DNP. It was not because of injury. It was not because of COVID. It's for another reason. For context, what that typically means is that Bones violated a team rule. whether it was he was late for practice or late for shoot around or late for a meeting or acted up or did something, went against team rules, whatever it is, that's usually what that means. Now, I will say, usually when a guy's late, it's usually like a half that a guy gets benched. So if he did something, it may have been a little worse, but we don't have any more details at this point. But that's kind of like how to read between the lines. If Bones wasn't available because, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like it was a personal absence. It sounds like it was some sort of that of a situation where he was, removed from the rotation on purpose. If I'm wrong, then my mistake, and the Nuggets should have just said he's out with a personal reason. But that's not what happened. So 2 and 2 together, that's the deal. Did want to give a shout out to Zeke Naji. Zeke Naji was one of the few players that I thought really played well tonight. He got blocked at the rim on some plays for not going up stronger, but that's just something Zeke's going to have to work on with his athleticism, or his strength and training, rather. He's got the athleticism to do it. He made, he had 3 offensive rebounds. The effort was really there from Zeke. He was like closing out. He was trying to make things happen. He had a drive and an and one for a huge dunk. I thought he played really well. Blackco was a +8, but he was not good. He was not good. So really, like, the list of players that were good tonight was like Nikola Jokic on offense, Monte Morris on offense, Zeke Naji overall, and Marcus Howard. Like, everyone else was really well. It was a disappointing loss. They go to 14-14. They can't get any momentum. Malone was understandably upset. The team is still kind of like they're just in this weird void, and they got to get people back, and they got to try and get the spark, and they got to try and, they got to keep their energy up, and there's a lot up against them. I was talking to somebody today on Twitter about Harden's MVP run, about how exhausted he was, and Bones Hyland was sent home tonight for a violation of team rules. Michael Malone said this is just stupid from Harrison Williams. So he did something wrong and was actually sent home. That's a pretty intense. Whatever he did must have really irritated him. But rookie's going to rook. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm concerned that Jokic is going to burn himself out and won't have enough for the playoffs, even if the Nuggets can make it. The West is still right there. The Grizzlies continue to win, but they're probably going to fall back to earth at some point. And nobody else is running away with it outside of the top 3. But I just don't know what the Nuggets are going to look like, or what Jokic is going to have left at the end of the season. It's a real concern. All right, hit us up with your questions at Locked On Nuggets. Make sure to follow Adam's work at thednvr.com. You can follow me on Twitter at HBBasketball. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Really appreciate it. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.